Weatherman here, bringing you a brand new video. This one has nothing to do with Airsoft, but rather has to do with a game called Green Hell, and it absolutely lives up to the name. It is a jungle survival game in which the jungle will probably kill you 80,000 different ways. Most people who play this usually are dead within the first 24 hours in game time. Within the first 24 hours of spawning into the jungle. They usually don't make it past day 1. That's how brutal of a game this is. But because of that brutality, there needs to be a guide, obviously, to how to survive in Green Hell. And most of the guides I've seen on the internet thus far tend to only cover a very narrow stream of topics. Either it's the most basic guide ever that has absolutely nothing to do with surviving, but it teaches you how to make a knife, how to make a spear, how you can hunt with the spear. Doesn't teach you, hey, what happens if I've been poisoned by a venomous snake after falling off a cliff and my health is dropping rapidly and I have no food? What do you do then? There's no guide that really covers that. The guides are either so bare bones minimum that it doesn't help you survive, or so far advanced you don't even know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm hoping to bridge that gap with this video. So let's go ahead and get started and jump right into the jungle. Now that you spawned into the jungle, the first thing you need to take a look at is your watch. You get there by pressing the F key. This watch helps track your macronutrients, which includes protein, carbs, hydration, and fat. If any one of them gets too low, your health starts to drain rapidly. So you need to micromanage your nutrients at the same time while trying to avoid it being killed and eaten by everything in the jungle. Next, we'll talk about your health and energy and sanity bars. They're going to be located down there in the lower left-hand corner. You can see which one is the health bar. That will gradually decrease as you take damage from predators or falling. It will also gradually decrease as your nutrients decrease. If your nutrients are up, your health is up. Starting to see where I'm going here? You got to manage your nutrients to manage your health. Below that's going to be your energy and stamina bar. Your energy is more of a quick burn for things like starting fires and sprinting, while your stamina bar deteriorates as you use energy. Now, once you've used up energy and your stamina falls, your energy will only recuperate to the point where your stamina is. So as you lose energy throughout the day, eventually your energy will drop so much so you can't start fires or you can't sprint for more than a second or two. If it gets completely depleted, your character will simply pass out and fall asleep wherever he is. This is ill-advised as you can sometimes get wormed or become victim of a jaguar attack. Now that that's out of the way, once you spawn in, you want to take a quick look around. Sometimes you spawn next to villages or big flat open areas where you can build small campsites. And it's important to keep an eye on those locations as this is where you're going to be setting up shop when you first spawn into the game. But immediately once you spawn in, you want to take a quick canvas of any potential nearby nutrients. Here on the screen, you'll notice that there's a gigantic tree right in front of me, and this tree spawns wonderful blue mushrooms that help boost your energy and cure parasites. That's key early in the game as you don't have clean sources of drinking water just yet. So you want to be able to know how to get those parasites out of your belly after drinking contaminated water. Next thing you want to do, start gathering plenty of supplies. You want to grab vine as rope, you want to grab sticks that you find lying around, and you also want to grab stones. These can all be used to help you begin to build your very first campsite. Sticks can be made in a fire. You can combine sticks with stones to create axes and spears, and you can use the vine to string everything together as you're crafting it up and making your first base. A quick piece of advice for this stage of the game: you are the weakest thing in the jungle at this point. You have no body armor, your nutrients are low, you have no weapons. You want to try to limit how much you move in the jungle at this point. So you generally want to stay in the local area of where you spawned and never travel too far from it. This is important because the further you travel from your initial spawn location, the higher the likelihood you run across a ravenous jungle cat or tribal natives that just want you out of their jungle. While gathering resources, be on the lookout for mushrooms. You can find these all over the place and they come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. Now it's kind of difficult to tell which ones are which, so here's the quick reference guide. If you don't see the mushroom on this screen, don't touch it. These are the mushrooms that can provide some form of benefit if eaten or stewed into a soup, and these are the only mushrooms you need to care about. Tip 3 for jungle survival is use your notebook. You'll access your notebook by pressing N on the keyboard, and inside it's chock full of information from how to make hand drills and bandages to build certain structures to help you save the game and get you out of the elements at night. This book will be your go-to reference guide for almost anything in the game. Unfortunately, there is a drawback. If you haven't learned the skill or trade yet, or discovered what certain plants do, it's not going to appear in this notebook. So if you ate a mushroom earlier that was super good for you and you can't remember what it looked like, reference the notebook. That way you know exactly what it looks like. This notebook is filled with all sorts of information that will help you to survive the jungle. Now, early in the game, hydration is key. You can't survive more than about 24 to 48 hours in the game without getting some form of hydration, but this presents a problem if you don't know how to get it. Most people usually just resort to drinking dirty water, and that results in stomach parasites, which is fine because we have the remedy. These orange cup mushrooms that grow on logs all over the place will help you get rid of those stomach parasites and allow you to continue to hydrate using dirty water until clean sources of water are made available later in the game. Now, the first thing you want to make in the game is a stone axe. It's one of the simplest tools you can use, and you make it by adding one stick to one stone. This will allow you to chop down trees and gather resources to begin building your first camp, and not to mention you can then use those resources to make additional tools that will help keep you alive in the jungle, whether it be spears or bows or bandages. And speaking of bandages, this little plant right here with the yellow flowers is the plant that allows you to make bandages from its leaves. When you see it, chop it down and use the leaves to start crafting bandages. These bandages are important to healing yourself after sustaining an injury, being bitten by a snake or a spider, and or being attacked by a jaguar. Once you've gathered up enough supplies and you now have access to a stone axe, it's time to begin setting up your camp for the night. This is an important part of finishing up day one because having a campsite enables you to not only save the game, but gives you some place to feel a little bit more sane while you're playing this game. It may be a game, but trust me, it will drive you nuts with how challenging it can be. So you want to start by placing a fire somewhere, preferably out of the weather, so that way it doesn't get put out every time it rains. And then you want to set up your shelter. Although you're beginning to build your very first camp that's going to allow you to now save the game and save your progress, you're not out of the woods just yet, pun intended. You'll still have to go out and about and gather the resources necessary to build your hut. So as you're out there gathering those resources, be on the lookout for targets of opportunities. Certain trees spawn certain types of fruits, whether it's bananas, orange fruit, or green fruit, which all have their beneficial properties. Bananas are a great source of carbs, orange fruit gives you hydration and carbs, and green fruit actually gives you hydration, carbs, and can cure parasites. So you want to be on the lookout for those, as well as coconuts that fall from the trees, and even up in the tree tops, you can still see where some of the coconuts are and actually knock them down by throwing your axe, a rock, or shooting it down with a bow and arrow. Coconuts are a crucial part of survival as they can allow you to store water, a regular source of clean water. Not to mention, if you eat them, they have a great deal of fat in them. So carbs and fat are readily available throughout the jungle. The only thing that you can't get just from the jungle floor itself is protein. You'll have to get that strictly by hunting animals that you see around the map, whether it's frogs, birds you come across, rattlesnake meat, or if you're in a real hunting mood, you can track down some capybara, kill them, and they are an excellent source, probably the best source of fats, protein, and energy in the game right now. So these are very key things to be on the lookout for, because generally speaking, the animals you want to hunt will continually spawn in the similar area. So as you're gathering those resources, you'll hear them scurrying around the forest, and if you know where they are, you know where to go hunt them once you have the tools available to go hunt them. Now that you have your first coconut, you're well on your way to starting to thrive in the jungle. Coconuts are already, by themselves, a good source of clean drinking water, but they're a good source of fat, as I've mentioned already. Once you're done harvesting the inside, you're going to be left with 2 coconut husks. Now if you drag and drop them out of your inventory onto the ground, then every single time it rains, that coconut will fill up with clean drinking water. Each coconut half can hold about 10 units of drinking water, so during a heavy rainstorm you can continually sit there and drink that water up over and over again and help replenish your hydration with ease. Tree identification is another big part of survival in the jungle. You can quickly identify what trees are going to give you what type of materials when you cut them down. Larger trees will give you logs as well as long sticks, while smaller trees will only give you small sticks, and they're pretty easy to identify once you know what to look for. This is an example of a small tree, and then over here you have an example of a larger tree. You can quickly tell the difference in their size as well as the thickness of the trunk. The larger tree will of course give you logs and long sticks, whereas the shorter tree will just give you long sticks. This can be helpful in preserving your axe by knowing what trees you need to cut down to finish a project or to make a new tool. Crafting a stone spear is a crucial part of survival as it allows you to better defend yourself against a jaguar attack, but you can also use it for hunting by throwing it and striking animals in the head with it. They're simply made by making two stones together to make a stone blade. Then you take a stone blade, add it to a long stick and rope, and now you have a stone spear. Again, plant identification is going to play a crucial role. If you know what plants give you what items, it makes it a lot easier to survive. This is an example of a baby palm tree. While it doesn't have a trunk, it does produce more green leaves than the older counterpart, and they're easily identified as the leaves tend to grow straight out of the ground. And this is an example of an older palm. In addition to giving you palm leaves, it gives you dried leaves which you can use to start fires after you cut them down. And the ones that are still standing will frequently drop nuts, which are a great source of fat to help keep you alive in the jungle. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of your first day in Green Hell. It may not seem like quite an accomplishment, but I can assure you, many people have died within the first 5 minutes of going into the jungle. It's a very unforgiving environment, and in the first day, you've managed to create a save point, gather resources to keep you alive for at least a couple more days, and you've also found a way to get clean drinking water from coconuts and even drink dirty drinking water from the river, but heal the parasites that you get from doing so. These are very important first steps in ensuring that you're able to survive for a prolonged period of time in the jungle. Not only have you set yourself up for success, by the end of the first day you should also have at least a stone axe and stone spear at your disposal. Heading into day 2, we'll go over crafting bow and arrows. We'll also go over how to hunt animals, the best way to kill them, and using the resources you get from animals to begin crafting body armor. And that body armor is going to be crucial in ensuring that you can survive attacks from natives as well as jungle cats, which can severely injure you and kill you within a matter of minutes if you're not prepared. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm planning on doing at least a few more to ensure that you can make it through the first 4 or 5 days. Each one will become more advanced and we'll go over other topics that are key to surviving the jungle. But in the meantime, I'll see you in Green Hell.